So I'm still stuck in traffic here. So I figured I'd turn this back on because I just started thinking back to myself about how you construct stories within your campaign for D&D. And in that, I mean, you can basically do it one of two ways if you're creating your own story. You can try to think of every possible scenario in which case the players might do a thing. Or you can construct a railroad and tell them to stay on that and don't get off of it. And I feel like that those are two extremes. Because the middle ground is crafting a story that you think that the players will be on. For instance, I think that if I put you guys in a city and tell you that you need to start a riot, that you'll do it in this way. You'll go to the local tap room and you'll start, like, you know, singing Rage Against the Machine, start having the bard sing Rage Against the Machine and start, like, you know, causing a disturbance, and then, you know, everybody gets up in arms and they all march the streets. Or what the players actually do is try to do guerrilla warfare tactics and cause civil unrest and, like, you know, basically create fear within the people to where they don't trust their own government, to where they feel like they have to take matters into their own hands and they need to overthrow this evil regime. You know, like, it's either be Batman or be I don't even know, a movie where a riot happens. So and that's the thing, like, you can think all you want, like, of course, when they get this item, they're going to do this with it. Like, of course, when I gave them a magic piece of armor made out of lich's phylactery, of course they're going to put it on. I want to start describing weird things that happen over the course of about a week, and they're going to go, well, I'm going to take this armor off. And when they do, oh no, the armor's not coming off. Now we have to go on a quest to get this evil lich's armor off of him, where they have to find, like, what the lich was doing when he was creating it, what this armor is, what happened, like what's making it tick, what makes it run, and find somebody who can help us, like, resolve this. And that person, like, basically will inform them, oh, well, what you have to do is, a lich is still alive. He's in that phylactery. His soul is still there. And there's no magic I have powerful enough to dislodge him. But I do have a way. I'm going to send aspects of your soul into that armor, and you're going to find that lich, and you'll destroy him, and you'll purify the armor. It'll lose some of its magic properties, but it'll actually gain some other ones that maybe he's holding back. So in a sense, what I was going to have happen with this story is that they get this evil armor, they find out the armor is evil, go figure, and then they go on a quest to get it purified, and by doing so, they go through and they actually get to live inside this phylactery, which is, like, this cool, like, crystalline, astral, ethereal place with, like, all kinds of damned souls inside of it, and they, like, fight through and they fight the lich, and it's just really cool, just awesome, epic battle. What I figured would happen, but it's not what happened. I gave him this evil armor, weird stuff started happening to him, and he ignored it. He said, oh well. So I was like, well, maybe I should make more evil stuff happen. So I made more evil stuff happen. Like, oh, the armor starts screeching every time you get hurt. Now it starts whispering for you to fucking murder people. And he's like, that's weird, isn't it? I'm not gonna do it. It's like, okay, well, now you have to start rolling saves to not do it. And he's like, oh, okay. And he wasn't making it. And he was, like, doing weird shit, like throwing away perfectly good magic weapons because he wanted him to use these specific, like, vampiric daggers that, like, suck the fucking life force itself out of people. And he was just like, yeah, that's fine. So what do? Like, he just doesn't care that he has, like, an evil piece of armor on him. And I never thought about consequences for actually wearing this armor. It never occurred to me. So finally I kind of went, well, what does happen? Well, it wants these specific daggers to be like sucking the life force out of people. So let's have it actually be doing something for him. So I started actually keeping a running tally of how much damage that these daggers were doing, and I was applying that to how powerful this lich was becoming. And soon enough, like, I just kept kind of giving him hints, giving him any out, but eventually, like, this thing became such a fucking monster that like once it finally came to a head, I was like, all right, well, roll a save. And he rolled a save. He didn't make it. He didn't come close. And the armor took over this guy's body and ran off with him. And that's just kind of what happens when, you know, you think of a story and you think of it being obvious. Like, of course they'll do this, but it doesn't always happen like that. So that's what happens when you kind of go middle of the road. Let's see what happens when you go full railroad and you say this is what has to happen, and you don't let the players kind of choose. You don't give the character, like, you don't let there be room for character. Not really. And I'm gonna pick on somebody, Dan. You know I love you, Dan. Honestly, your campaign made us make our favorite group of characters, bar none. That was Team Stranglehold. But I sincerely bet that you're making great campaigns now, and that you're DMing great. But his first campaign, we called it the Stranglehold campaign, because he put limit after limit after limit after limit on what we were allowed and able to do with the campaign. Like, you can't be this, you can't have this power, you can't use magic, you can't be a dwarf, you can't be this thing, you can't be that thing. It's set underground. I'm not going to tell you anything about the story. I'm not going to tell you anything about what your backstory might be. So we had nothing to go on. We were in a stranglehold, so to speak. So we kept asking, like, could we be this? Could we be that? And like, he'd be like, no, you can't be that. But you can be that. No, you can't do this thing. But you can't do that thing. So eventually, hang on a second. So eventually we come out with all of us being Warforged. Which, if you don't know what Warforged is, it's essentially a living suit of armor. It's like a soul inside of a manufactured body. So we were all Warforged, and we all made ourselves be a different, like, role within that kind of thing. We had one guy who was a smaller guy. He was like a mithril-bodied Warforged, and he, like, would just be like, he's our fast guy, he's our rogue, he's our ninja kind of guy. Then we had kind of our middle guy. Man, Car Ramrod. The other guy was Gurn Lightstep, I think, something like that. Then we had Car Ramrod, and he was our healer, because you can actually take a special domain which specifically heals Warforged or constructs, which is what a Warforged counts as. So we had that, and then we had Liger Panzer V, which was me, which was my guy, which was just this big hulking fucking metal monster with a giant hammer. So we kind of, like, the idea was that we were going to try to make a set of characters that could do anything in any certain situation. So if we needed somebody to sneak, we had one. If we needed somebody to talk and to heal, we had one. If we had a guy who needed to kick down a fucking door, we had a guy who could kick down a fucking door. But we didn't have any of those scenarios. When we started this campaign, we were, like, basically told what was happening to all of our characters all along. It wasn't really up to us. We were given, like, basically helper characters to explain the plot and to advance it forward. For example, we were given an NPC named Pavel. Pavel is a half-orc, and there's nothing wrong with Pavel whatsoever. It's fine. But we resented Pavel for the specific reason of he took the story from us. It would, like, we would come to a door, and when you come to a door, you actually have now 3 characters who have 3 different ways of approaching this door. we could have our sneaky guy try to pick the lock, or try to find our, like, you know, try to find the secret button that opens this door. Or we could have our healer kind of, you know, magic-y kind of talky guy. He could just simply walk up, knock on the door, and just be like, hey, it's we're here on patrol, we need to go through. Or he could like cast a spell that like unlocks the door and they can walk through. Or we have my guy, Panzer Tiger V, who would just fucking like he might just be able to fucking jackboot this door open. Just do the barbarian knock spell, and that's just knock it off its fucking hinges. But instead we had Pavel, who walked up to the door and did something, and then the door opens. So we didn't, like, that's already one character interaction we're not allowed, we didn't get. Then we would come up to maybe a scenario where, oh, there's a guy on the other side of this wall, but we can't get to him yet. I'm like, all right, well, again, we have a couple different things. I could just try to fucking like knock down the wall, or still just fucking bend these bars, or whatever is like keeping us from him. Or we could have our healer guy like cast something like, you know, make it so that we can move through the wall, or make the wall kind of move out of our way, or something. Have our ninja try to sneak through the bars. But instead, we had Pavel. Pavel found a way around, and he slit this guy's throat. Or actually, better yet, what he was doing was he was throwing daggers and just killing people in one hit. And I think we even got those at one point, but they didn't actually work all that well. Like, not, you know what I mean? So it just kept being a thing where it wasn't us playing a game. It was us rolling dice every now and again to make sure what was supposed to happen happened. And that's when we were too hard on the railroad. And we started, and when that happens, your characters or your players aren't, in this case us, started rebelling, and we were just being fucking retarded. And like every time we would kill somebody, we would scalp them just so we felt like we were doing something within this game. Like, it's fucked up. We were fighting Nazis. Fighting Nazis all day. So it's not that bad. Not that bad. And eventually I think the campaign just kind of fell through, you know, this reason or that reason. But in the end, that's what happened. I actually got a really funny story about this. There was a section where we had to sneak. Like, it was a forced sneak section. And he's like, if you get caught, then something super bad's gonna happen, so don't get caught. I go, excuse me? I am a 7-foot tall man made of metal who does not know actually the meaning of the word sneak. He actually didn't. So what do I do? Because I'm not going to make this roll, whatever it's going to be. He goes, no, you'll probably make it. It's not that high a roll. It's not that high a roll. I go, all right. Roll the size, tat on the ground. And I go, I look down, I count, I go 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. He's like, what'd you get? I go, I got -2. I got below 0. On a D20, there's a 1, a 2, all the way up to 20. And then you can add ranks into sneaking and all that kind of stuff to make it be better. Right. So someone's honking over here. So my guy is made of metal. So that's a minus right there. He is really fucking tall, so that's a minus right there. And I think it's like that I just suck at sneaking, like, to such a degree that I take another minus. So I ended up getting -2. Like, I looked up in the book. Like, he said, actually, yeah, that still makes it. It's fine. I look up in the books, I go, that is literally louder than a marching army on the horizon. Like, you have, it's a 0 to hear a marching army on the horizon. I was literally louder than a fucking, like, I just assumed my guy just did a fucking belly flop on like a steel grate while screaming. Just, ah! Like, just as loud as anything could possibly be. They didn't hear me. Because the story wasn't supposed, like, in the story, they weren't supposed to hear me. So that's all that happened. So, yeah. That's what happens when you get railroaded too hard. But then now, I'm trying to do probably the other extreme, which is trying to leave it too open. And I am creating an entire city with people, with already, like, with every NPC planned out, with every shop planned out, with every event that they're going to be doing already planned out, with side quests that they can pick up already planned out. And at the point where I'm making this giant sandbox from the play-in, where I don't know, like, I might be going too far, and they're only going to be doing, like, the things I actually thought they would be doing. So, you know, I have, you know, all, like, 40 missions planned out, and, like, 10 side missions that they can do if they want to, and, like, 100 NPCs. This all, like, drawn up and ready to go. And if they don't do any of that, that's a lot of time wasted. But I feel like that's probably the better alternative to saying, like, alright, there's 100 guys on the other side of this door, you have to sneak through there. And when I go, fuck that, I'm not doing that, the answer is, well, you have to. So yeah, that's all I came on to bitch about. I've probably made it about a quarter of a mile in the past 16 minutes. So I have a long drive ahead of me. I might just turn this back on in a second. Who knows? But if I don't, see ya.